Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. Today, a federal judge from the federal district court judge ruled that the ERA is basically, it's too late for any of the states now to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment, and therefore it looks like it's blocked unless it goes on to the Supreme Court to extend the amount of time. What I wanted to say is that this is not as big a blow to that is it might seem, and the reason for it is that it's possible that by going along with the idea that there needs to be an Equal Rights Amendment, that it was almost reinforcing the idea that there was the right to not have an Equal Rights Amendment. I know that sounds really weird, but there's kind of like a flip-flop idea here that's possible. My organization, one of our exempt purposes is to purify the U.S. legal system. And in 2017, November 9th, 2017, I wrote a letter to the Supreme Court about a misunderstanding in our legal system that allows our government to constitutionally justify playing power games that are oppressive to the people. And when I sent the letter, I haven't heard back from them. I don't know what the status is of this letter or anything. But basically what it is it explains a misunderstanding, this misunderstanding that says that our government can constitutionally justify power games that are oppressive. But it's based on misunderstanding. Our founding fathers declared that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that is the let's say the highest law of the land that supersedes the Constitution. And I've talked about the three levels of the universe before, the three levels, the Father, the Mother, and the Son idea. In science and physics, it is the potential, the drive, and the plan. It's like the three levels. The first one is the principles. The second is the power and the application of the principles. And then the third is the product, the Father, the Mother, and the Son idea in religion. Okay, so there's always three levels of the universe, but when you look at the Constitution as being the highest law of the land, it is the highest law of the land, but it also isn't, because there's this misunderstanding about we are all Americans, but we're also citizens of the world, and we're also citizens of the galaxy and the universe. And so we are all, it's like we're part of in a database, you would look at it as a different field, but we're still part of the same fields. You see what I mean? So when you look at an Equal Rights Amendment, we're talking God's law is based on 7 principles: equality, liberty, freedom, compassion, abundance, capacity, and tolerance. And that's what creates like the balance in our government. And when people think that they can treat people unequally, that is what leads to wars. So these 7 principles create a sense of balance, but they create a sense of conflict resolution. They end genocides. They end massacres. These principles take the waves action that's going on, the ripples of effects from intolerance, and then it brings it to the straight and narrow. So when you look at something that's not equal, basically it's it might be constitutional, it might be federal, but it's not universal law, because it has to do. Now, for example, the principle of equality, people who have been dragged into a war lack the principle of equality. People who think they're more important than others start wars. Okay, so for the first requirement of conflict resolution is that both parties, both sides must be considered equal. Okay, so when you institute equality into the legal system, like, it creates a fair legal system. When it's a kangaroo court, it's not fair. When black people, any kind of minority people, are not considered equal under the law, and that's where we are with this Black Lives Matter and the sexual harassment things, and that it's because some people think they're more important than others, and that's what leads to revenge, and that's what leads to wars, and that's what leads to chaos in our legal system. So the Equal Rights Amendment, while it was there telling everybody that there had to be equality under the law, technically speaking, it was not given to them their unalienable rights to be treated fairly and equally. So life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness can be interpreted the way my guides interpret that, is the right to create your life without interference. That means fulfill your purpose in life, to be treated fairly and equally, and to have a voice in your government. These are unalienable rights that cannot be taken away from anybody. And if this goes to the Supreme Court, I have a feeling that anybody, any attorney who understands this misunderstanding could very well say, for the sake of our country, equality under the law allows us to have a fair trial, everybody has a right to a fair trial, but how can there be a fair trial when there isn't equality under the law? If anything, when somebody takes somebody to court at any time, they have the right to be treated fairly and equally under the law. So do we need an Equal Rights Amendment? You know, back years ago when it first came out, I was all for it and I thought it was great. And then after a while, I started to realize that our country cannot function with a fair trial if there was no equality under the law. So the first requirement of conflict resolution is that everybody has to be considered equal. So anybody who basically is an attorney, anybody who is a judge, anybody who cares about the legal system, cares about the Constitution, basically, hey, we're equal under the law. But in God's eyes, we're all equal. It really doesn't matter. Basically, nobody has the right to wage war. Nobody has the right. So this letter to the Supreme Court basically explains this misunderstanding that we've had. Now, I understand that the misunderstanding is probably there for a purpose, because universal law, God's law of do unto others as you would have them do unto you, has been around for a long time. In fact, according to Seth, my guide in A Manual for Peace, he said, for world peace to come, every person on the planet had to be exposed to universal law. But not everybody stands on universal law. And so those people who don't stand on universal law are basically facing the backlashes from it. And the people who are standing on it are using it as a tool to help them get their life on a higher level, because what you do to somebody else will be done to you. So if you want to create the life you want, you just help other people do that. If you want to have your unalienable rights, you have to guarantee them to every person on the planet. And that's what we're doing in our exit strategy for Iraq and our constitutional amendment project. When we went into Iraq, we denied the Iraqi people their unalienable rights. There were no weapons of mass destruction. It collapsed our power base, and we are in the process of, because we broke universal law, we are in the process of losing our unalienable rights right now. Now, to get them back, we have to give them to every person, guarantee them to every person on the planet. So while the constitutional amendment based on the Equal Rights Amendment looks like it's not going forward anymore, this next constitutional amendment is what's going to guarantee unalienable rights, you can say, to every person on the planet, and that's how we get them back again. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say tonight. Don't be afraid if the Equal Rights Amendment doesn't go, because there's always kind of a tipping point there. It's always kind of like, let's say like a journey is you're looking backwards, the halfway, and now we can start turn around and look forwards to what we actually have already guaranteed to us by our Creator. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. Like, share, and subscribe. And most of all, share with your family and friends, because this is important. Thank you.